Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government this land and people may be well and truly served, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the effort of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speak the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, before we go into business, I would like to welcome our brothers from Nigeria who has visited Ghana and are here to fraternize with us. So, honorable members, I have the pleasure to introduce to you a 40-member delegation of the Oyo State House of Assembly, Nigeria, who are on a training session on fundamental imperatives of legislative work. Whilst in Ghana, they intend to take the opportunity to meet and interact with their counterparts, to share experiences and exchange ideas on issues of mutual interest. Honorable members, on behalf of the House, I welcome them to the Parliament and wish them fruitful deliberations. And the delegation was led by the Right Honorable Edward Debo, the Speaker of the group. So, honorable members, you are welcome to Ghana. Honorable members, we move to item number 4 on today's paper. Firstly, collection of votes and proceedings. Page 1. Page 2. Page number 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Yes, Honorable Deputy Major Jerry.
Mr. Speaker, page 7, number 3. Adam Mohammed Amin, Doctor, Member of Parliament for Karaga, was in the House yesterday.
Yes, table, please take note. Page number 8. Yes, my brother.
Honorable Speaker, page 8, item 5, Mr. Jetro is captured as acting deputy clerk, but on page 10, it is deputy clerk.
Please come again.
I'm saying that on page 8, item 5, Mr. Jetro is captured as acting deputy clerk, but on page 10, it is substantive deputy clerk. So there should be some form of clarity in this.
Table, correct yourself. Page number 9. Page 10. Yes, member for Kwadaso.
Sorry. Page 9, item 6, Roman numeral II, Jonas Gal store. The O should have a diagonal in it. It is not the normal O. There's a diagonal in the O, so they should capture that. There is somebody's name. It's not normal store.
Well, table. I hope we heard him. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. And finally, page 14. Don't worry. Honorable members, the votes and proceedings of the 5th sitting of the 3rd meeting of the first session held yesterday, Tuesday, the 2nd of November 2021, as corrected, are adopted as the true records of proceedings. Honorable members, do you have official reports? Honorable members, do you have official reports? Yes, leader.
We have some of the official reports. So I have
23rd, 24th, and 29th June. Then 2nd and 6th July.
Honorable members, we are not correcting the official reports. I understand it's in your pigeonholes. Please, tomorrow, make sure you go for them so that we can look into the official report. So we will address the official reports tomorrow. Or we'll put all of them together and address them tomorrow. Honorable members, we have a couple of statements. And we will leader, any indication?
Mr. Speaker, if you may indulge us, we seek your leave to vary the order in which business is to be carried, so we can go to commencement of public business and proceed with presentation of papers. Item 6.
May you speak up a bit?
Mr. Speaker, I seek your leave to vary the order in which the business of today is to be carried, and in so doing, we shall proceed to item 6 at the commencement of public business, presentation of papers.
Well. Deputy Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the presentation of papers will not take much time, so we can go ahead and do so.
Very well. So, at the commencement of public business, we come to page 2, item number 6, presentation of papers. We start with 6A. If the Minister for Energy is around. Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, again, with your leave, the Honorable Deputy Minister of Energy, who is a member of this House, is here. The Minister is unavoidably absent, having regard to some assignment outside of the jurisdiction.
Well, the leave granted. So, item number 6A.
Petroleum Local Content and Local Participation Amendment Regulations 2021.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Subsidiary Legislation for consideration and report. The Honourable Member for Okankwe Central, what is it?
Mr. Speaker, may I refer you to Order 75-2, that a member, if so desired, if so desired by the person presenting a paper, a short explanatory statement may be made by him upon its presentation. Mr. Speaker, a very important paper has just been laid by the Deputy Minister. I want to find out from him if there's an explanatory memorandum accompanying, if he so desires, to let the House be apprised of. Thank you.
Yeah, honorable member, you have just said it. If the minister is so desire, it is at his discretion. So, if the minister has something to add, other than that, yes, Deputy Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the referral of the paper to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee. Mr. Speaker, I think that is an issue that borders on energy, and it's a local content concerning energy. So if it should be a joint referral to the Energy Committee in addition. Mr. Speaker.
Leader, this is an instrument.
And Mr. Speaker, I haven't finished. I have not finished.
Leader.
Mr. Speaker, even if it will not be a joint referral, at least leadership of the Energy Committee should participate in it, because this is a local content on energy. So it's very important that they have some technical input from the Energy Committee. We have done this severally, so nothing should stop us from doing so. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Yes, Honorable Leader, the referral is specifically to subsidiary legislation. If members of Energy Committee are desirous to join, fine, they are at liberty to do that. But this referral is strictly for subsidiary legislation. Yes, Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, sorry to just, I know you have made in a way a ruling on this, but the truth of the matter is that beyond just the law, the content of it is also very important. So even if the leadership of the Mines and Energy Committee go there, they will be able to augment and inform some of the draftings and other things they will be doing. So the content of it is also very key. And I think that if maybe we still want to insist on just having the Subsidiary Legislation Committee doing that, at least the leadership of the committee should be made to be part of it. But if you leave it to the discretion of the Subsidiary Committee to say that, oh, they can join, that may not necessarily be, that is my just humble opinion.
My brother, this is an instrument, and normally per our standard we refer instruments to subsidiary legislation. That's why I said if members of the Energy Committee, whether the leadership or whoever is desirous to join, the person is at liberty to do that. We know most of us are friends to most of the other committees. So I don't think it's an issue. My senior.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, for 212 I am a member of the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, so, and also chairman of the Energy and Mines Committee. So, as a matter of fact, I'll be able to gather a lot from my committee and then use it at the appropriate time. And all the members of the committee who so desire to input what we are doing, I'm ready to help. I'm grateful to my Lord.
Well. I'm also a member of the two committees. So Leader, let him listen to honorable member for.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, once it's an instrument or regulation, it comes within the ambit of the subsidiary legislation. The work of the subsidiary legislation is to take the parent act and determine whether the regulation before them is within the ambit of the parent act and bring it to this House in line with Article 11.7. So once it's a regulation, It comes purely under the subsidiary legislation.
My brother, I've already ruled. For now, it has been referred to subsidiary legislation. For now. Yes, we move to 6B.
Mr. Speaker, once again, with your leave, Honorable Oreko would proceed to lay that paper. Yes, okay.
Very well, Honorable Deputy Minister for Energy, you may do 6B.
Report of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research of the University of Ghana for the period 2019 to 2020.
Honorable members, the report has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Education for consideration and report. C.
Budget performance report in respect of the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources for the period January to March 2021.
Honorable members, has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Works and Housing for consideration and report. 6D.
Budget performance report in respect of the Ministry of Information for the period April to June 2021.
Honorable members, the report has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Communication for consideration and report. Yes, Leader, any indication?
Mr. Speaker, we thank you for indulging us. You may now proceed with the original order in which business is to be conducted.
Honorable members, we go back to item number 5 on today's order paper, which is statements. And like I said, we have a couple of statements. The first one is taken from a member for Bolibamboy, Honorable Yusuf Suleimana, on the impact of high rising cement prices in the construction industry. Honorable member for Bolibamboy, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am grateful for this opportunity to make a statement on the high and rising cement prices and their impacts. Mr. Speaker, given present technology, cement is the most popular and universally accepted binder material in construction. The reason for this is found in the following characteristics of cement. 1, it gains sufficient strength very quickly relative to other materials. 2, it is able to withstand compressive stress. 3, it is easy to mix and compatible with local materials. 4, it is easy to transport. And finally, it makes construction quicker and cheaper. As a result, Mr. Speaker, it is extremely rare to come across any form of construction without some amount of cement used in the process. It is therefore not surprising that cost of cement forms a very important component of construction. Indeed, my research reveals that, as a rule of thumb, cement constitutes about 16% of total construction costs. What this means is that changes in cement prices impact construction and people directly. Mr. Speaker, the impact of extreme cement price increases on the construction industry, the state and individuals is unbearable and profound. Specifically, for contractors with ongoing projects, this immediately affects project costs. For instance, in 2019, the President cast off for the construction of the military housing project at a cost of $100 million US. At that time, cement was selling at a cost of about 32 Ghana cedi per bag. Today, at over 50 Ghana cedi per bag, the cost of this project will automatically go up by an extra $100 million US in the list. Mr. Speaker, in such a situation, the contractor is forced to undertake immediate remedial measures. Such measures will include or will involve either the utilization of margins to meet the increased costs or demand for renegotiation of contract terms to cater for the high prices. In the absence of government's willingness to renegotiate the economic terms of such contracts, you will likely see inferior execution of projects through adjustments of quantities. There's also the likelihood of delays in delivery and, in extreme case, abandonment of projects. At the individual level, Mr. Speaker, the transmission of high cement prices to high cost of living is easily traceable. In this respect, Mr. Speaker, people that are currently constructing homes will have to adjust their budgets upwards while their income remains unchanged or suspend their projects altogether. For example, if it will cost you to build your house at the cost of 100 million Ghana cedi, you will need 108,000 Ghana cedi if cement prices increases by 50%. For those who rent, it will not be surprising to witness a high rent as a result. Mr. Speaker, this statement is triggered by the recent dramatic change in the trend of cement prices in the country. Between 2012 and 2019, prices increased at 7.5% per annum. But since 2019, they have risen by 50.4% cumulatively. In March 2019, cement sold at 33 Ghana cedi per bag. It is selling between 52 Ghana cedi per bag and 55 Ghana cedi per bag today, depending on where you are located and the brand of cement you are buying. Mr. Speaker, this does not augur well for a nation with a huge infrastructure deficit. The Minister for Works and Housing at the Home Ownership Series in April this year stated that our housing deficit currently stands at over 2 million housing units. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, there are 88 districts without district hospitals, 2,417 schools under trees, 2,986 schools in deplorable states across the country, and I'm picking this from June 2nd, 2021 graphic online reports. Again, we have 55,733 kilometers, that is about 77% of the total road network unpaved. And this is also coming from the Minister of Roads and Highways as reported by GhanaWeb.com. This huge infrastructure deficit already requires huge financial outlay. Mr. Speaker, at the 2021 SDG Investment Fair, it was revealed that Ghana's annual infrastructure will need to reach 9.3 billion US dollars by 2030 and cumulate to 96 billion US dollars by 2040. If we were to achieve the SDGs, with cement price increase almost doubling in the last year, we will need some 15.4 billion US dollars more, i.e. assuming we are able to arrest the current prices and to ensure that they do not increase anymore. Mr. Speaker, just suppose this financial requirement with our capital expenditure, which in the last 10 years have averaged just over 1 billion US dollars per annum, according to data from Bank of Ghana. When you do this, you will know that it is in the interest of government to put in place some quick measures to prevent further increment in the prices of cement. The question, therefore, is, what has caused this dramatic rise in the price of cement? Mr. Speaker, why it has become fashionable to blame all our woes on the COVID-19 pandemic, an objective analysis of this particular situation should tell us that it is a rather internal factor or factors that are responsible. Or at best, the effects of COVID-19 have exacerbated the internal factors. Yes, Mr. Speaker, I am not oblivious of the disruption in international trade occasioned by the pandemic, but my position is informed by a quick comparative analysis of cement prices in neighboring markets. For instance, Mr. Speaker, in Nigeria, in 2019, cement sold at 2,550 naira per bag. Currently, it is selling, or it is going for 2,800 naira per bag, signifying a less than 10% cumulative rise within the same period. Indeed, the CEO of Dangote Cement in April this year in Nigeria granted an interview in response to consumer complaints about its discriminating prices across the different countries it operates. Among other things, he said, and I'm quoting him, while a bag of cement sells for an equivalent of $5.1, including VAT in Nigeria, it sells for $7.2 in Ghana and $5.295 in Zambia ex-factory. Mr. Speaker, my research shows that three factors account for this significant difference. One, there is a $0.50 per ton fumigation levy that has been imposed on imported clinker. Clinker is the main raw material for cement production, forming up to 80% of the total output. Accordingly, any tax imposed on it will automatically translate into high cost of production. Government decision to leave this levy in place this levy at this particular time has already driven import costs upwards and causing the rise in cement prices. The second factor is that the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority has barred vessels carrying clinker from berthing at Terminal 1 and 2, that is restricting them on only one berth. This, the authority explained, is to prevent pollution in the case of any accident. However, the distance between the terminals makes this reason untenable because any pollution within one terminal will reach the other terminals within a minute. Restricting these vessels to just one berth creates delays at the ports. According to the Chamber of Cement Manufacturers, Ghana, each day a vessel is delayed at the port. The importer, that is the cement manufacturer, pays between $34,000 and $45,000 US daily. This obviously adds to the cost of production and has to be borne by the cement consumer. Mr. Speaker, the third reason is that cement prices are also affected by the myriad of taxes import duties on raw materials, VAT as adjusted through the 1% COVID-19 health levy, as well as the many taxes on fuel prices, including the recent energy sector recovery levy of 20% per litre and the sanitation and pollution levy of 10% per litre. Mr. Speaker, the cumulative effect of these factors is responsible for the phenomenal hike in the prices as noted. The impact of this spans the length and breadth of this country. I therefore use this platform to recommend the following. 1. Government should remove the $0.50 per ton fumigation levy on imported clinker. It makes no sense to impose fumigation levy on clinker anyway. 2. Government should order GPA to allocate additional berths to clinker carrying vessels, even if it is going to be temporary, to prevent the undue delays at the ports. Thirdly, government should add cement retail to the exemption list of the 1% COVID-19 health levy. And finally, government should rethink the energy sector recovery and sanitation and pollution levies on fuel prices. Nothing can justify their imposition in a pandemic era, especially when every other country is doing the opposite. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, we have a long way to go to address our current infrastructure gap. This journey is made longer if cement, a major component in construction, becomes too expensive to buy. This current rate of price increases has become a crisis, and we require immediate crisis response from our government. Anything but that will be devastating, especially given the recent threat by the cement manufacturers to increase prices from about 60 Ghana cedi per bag by the end of this year. Mr. Speaker, let me thank you sincerely for the opportunity to present this very important statement. I thank you and God bless you.
Yes, honorable members, we have other statements. So I'll invite two from each side to make contributions. But before then, I'm told our friends from Nigeria would like to take leave of us, and therefore, Right Honorable Adebo Ogundiyin, the Speaker of Oyo State House of Assembly, Honorable Fadi, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Una Ulapu, Majority Leader, Honorable Arolapi, Minority Leader, Honorable Akim Adidibu, the Chief Whip, and all the other members who are here. We want to thank you for making time to be with us here. We wish you well and pray that you learn very effectively from Ghanaian culture, Ghanaian hospitality, and everything you need to know from Ghana. We are so grateful for being with us. So we get back to the statement, and you first invite Honorable Member for Boase West to make his contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement by the Honorable Yusuf Suleimana, and him for bringing such an important matter here. It will be recalled, Mr. Speaker, that a similar statement was delivered in this House by my good self, and Mr. Speaker, you referred it to
your joint committees of finance and trade and industry, we are working on it and will bring a report to this House as soon as we can. But Mr. Speaker, this statement has proceeded to make suggestions and to make recommendations that require some comments. It is true that COVID-19 has increased especially freight costs. So any items you are importing into this country now attracts higher freight charges. That, from our preliminary observation, is largely responsible, not wholly, but partially responsible for the rise in some of the building products we see on the market. But Mr. Speaker, the problem with the suggestion by our honourable member that the solution lies in government taking off some taxes and some levies in order to get the cost of those imported items go down, in my respectful opinion, is insensitive. It's insensitive to the economy. Mr. Speaker, when I say so, I mean that we have just come from the year 2020, in which the revenue shortfall was some 14 billion Ghana cedis. Then again, COVID-19 required that government found money to finance unplanned expenditures, such as the creation of isolation centers, such as the provision of relief for frontline workers, such as for vaccines, such as for all the things government needed to do to protect the lives of our people. What is needed now is strategies that would help government recover the financial losses we made into those expenditures at the time. Government announced to us and came here for approval that they overspend the requirement by the Fiscal Responsibility Act. And this House said, yes, given the need to protect the lives of our people, we give you government the approval to spend money that we do not have. That was the approval of this House. Mr. Speaker, as government comes here for the budget, I think the question we should be asking government is that what are your strategies in the budget to recover the big deficit? That is the question we should be asking. If we don't do that, and the economy deteriorates, the city falls, the vulnerable and the poor will suffer badly, and the political leaders responsible for those positions would have to pay the price to God. So let not anybody suggest to government that at a time when government revenue should be protected to protect the city, is the time we should be removing taxes. I will be extremely disappointed if in the coming budget, government comes to say that in spite of the approval this House gave you to spend money that Ghana did not have, that the way you want to recover is to now give more relief. Mr. Speaker, what kind of economic management would that be? We will be setting this economy on a path that would eventually hurt the poor. Let us be sensitive. Political expediency, Mr. Speaker, I conclude on this. Political expediency, in fact, it will be politically comfortable for government to come and to say, I have removed these taxes, I have removed these taxes. And people cheer, and the government gets the applause. Politically, it will be comfortable. But, Mr. Speaker, the consequences for the city and the economy will be such that the poor and the vulnerable will pay a painful price for such a political move. And I urge my colleagues to help government deal with the gap that arose as a result of the pandemic in 2020 and stop calling on government to do what will hurt the economy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me invite Honourable Member for Ho West? Honourable Bejura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend my brother, Honorable Yusuf, for well-researched statement to let the whole world, including Ghanaians, know that building material, especially cement, form some amount of percentage when it comes to costing of building products. Mr. Speaker, this statement has brought to fore the understanding that when you are building a house and you need materials to build the house, you need to depend on one major material called cement. In this part of the world, Mr. Speaker, coming from the built environment, it is true that 16% of cement cost or add to the cost of constructional material. That is this part of the world. But in other parts of the world, the rule of thumb is that it's no longer the 16% because cement might not be used primarily in the building or in the construction industry. But as it stands now, in our part of the world, cement still is used in our traditional construction method. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I was expecting my colleague, Honorable Kwaku Kwatin, when he made a statement here last year concerning the increased prices of building materials in this country, and you referred him or them to a committee to come up with a solution as to how these materials or government could do something about the cost, the rising cost of building materials. I was expecting him to tell us that indeed the committee has met and they have come out with solution. Unfortunately, he said they have not come out. And our brother has thought through and researched and came out with some recommendation. And I was expecting that he will invite our brother to the committee to also expand on those recommendations that is put out there. Unfortunately, he landed by saying that the recommendations, some of the recommendations are insensitive. In that sense, Mr. Speaker, our brother has also made a recommendation that apart from those prices or some of the suggestions made to government, he also made some suggestions that I think are sensitive. One of them is alluding to the fact that the Minister for Western Housing recently said that the housing deficit is 2 million. And if the housing deficit is over 2 million in this country, and people are living in shanty houses, people are living, or people do not have places to sleep, and the major cost of construction or major material in the construction mix is cement, and the cost is going high, and the chairman of finance committee does not see it as insensitivity to people who are living and sleeping in shanty and places that they are not supposed to live in, then I don't want to presuppose or presume that the recommendation that will bring to this house will not support and will not reduce the prices of building materials. Mr. Speaker, I'm a builder myself, and every now and then we go to the market. It is not only cement that is going high, but because this statement is about cement, we will limit our discussion to cement. But having said that, iron rods has gone astronomically higher than any building materials. I mean, you cannot imagine that between the year 2016 to 2021, prices of building materials that people cannot even afford to build houses because it has gone high. What can we do as a nation? And that is what this statement is appealing to all of us as members of this house to fair suggestions. And I believe that if you have one bed or a place where the ships will dock, one of them is only one that has been allocated for clinker, which is a major component in manufacturing cement. And then you have to even fumigate it. You tax for fumigating clinker. I have never heard this anywhere in the world. The clinker that was brought in should be fumigated. Therefore, you are taxing clinker, the importation of clinker being fumigated. I've never heard it anywhere. Very soon, even the sand will be fumigated. Is that what we are building this nation with? Mr. Speaker, and therefore, I expected my colleague to incorporate some of these suggestions, and I have one additional suggestion to make. There is a local material called pozzolana cement, which could be used in addition to cement, so it reduces the quantity of cement that you use. That pozzolana could also be marketed because it's manufactured here in Ghana. It was developed by CSIR and building a research institute of KNUST. Those materials could be encouraged and government should support them so that if you are using 10 bags of cement, it can be reduced to 5 bags of cement, and the cost of pozzolana, which is cheaper, will also be added to it, in addition to these 3 recommendations. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I support my friend that this recommendation should be incorporated in honorable parties, committees, and they must look at it holistically so that the building materials and we consultants will also get job to do. Because we are not getting job to do, Mr. Speaker, because the price of materials are going high and we cannot afford to be losing our client. With this, Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Yes, honorable member for Tema West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this very intelligently couched statement from my deputy ranking member and also a friend, Alaji from Bolivamboy. Mr. Speaker, it is very interesting to note that recently the prices of cement, which of course not too long ago used to be heavily regulated, has skyrocketed and is affecting almost every facet of life, including even iron rods and other building materials that are used in conjunction with cement to put up buildings. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to believe that the price changes or the price hikes as a result of government's taxes or any additions with regard to nuisance taxes that are making manufacturers increase their cement prices. I rather think, Mr. Speaker, that the additional charges that cement manufacturers have to pay in getting their raw materials through our ports might be one of the reasons why we are seeing what we are seeing today. The Speaker, it is interesting to note that clinker, which comes in a bulk form, when transported from the port to the manufacturer's premises, would have to go through fumigation charges. For me, I do not understand. What are we fumigating on that bulk cargo in the tipper truck? These and other charges that have found themselves into the cost of production have certainly come to increase and skyrocket prices, not just cement, but other products. I would challenge this House, as aware Mr. Speaker has already referred this matter to the Finance Committee, with the active involvement of the Trade and Industry Committee, but we've still not come with any finality yet on this request. Mr. Speaker, I want us to sit down and do a quick response to this request and bring you a report which should be fully implemented on whoever this committee comes up and say that they should watch their charges, or they should probably, apportion the charges appropriately. The Speaker. But however, I also quickly like to add that this is an industry that is heavily regulated. Indeed, if you look at LI 2240 of 2016, when a similar situation arose and the price of cement started going up, the then government came up with this law to ensure some stabilization. And in fact, I must say that the law came to do a lot of good. And as we speak, the ministry or the minister in charge of trade has that responsibility to ensure that if people in the industry decide on their own to increase the price of cement, that minister has the right to use every means to regulate the price. And one of the means is to encourage importation to actually stabilize the prices of cement. The law even goes ahead to say that before the cement manufacturers would increase their prices, they need to sit down with the Ministry of Trade and discuss. Have they discussed in this recent skyrocketing nature? I don't know. So I want to also use this opportunity to inform the Minister of Trade to ensure that they are using every fair means to get these manufacturers to sit down with them and agree to some of these increases, because sometimes we find it a bit too high. And I must agree that it is a bit too high. Today, it's almost about 50% compared to what we were buying cement for in 2017, which I think if we do a little bit more work, we'll be able to, as it were, bring down the price of cement. And like I said, the only way today as we speak is to give importers opportunity to bring in cement from outside, and let us see if the prices will not draw down what the manufacturers are trying to push down our throats. So, Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I congratulate my colleague from Bolibamboy, and I say that the referral to the Finance Committee and the Trade Committee should come quick for you to implement whatever recommendation we put therein. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member for Honourable Atuforsen.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to also contribute to the statement that was made by our colleague, the Honourable Member for Boli. Speaker, in doing so, in responding to the statement, the Chairman of the Finance Committee had said that inasmuch as we should be concerned about the prices of cement, he does not think that there's the need for government to remove the levies that has been imposed by government on the supply of some of these items, particularly cement. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to say that in his statement he made reference to the fact that due to COVID-19, government of Ghana lost revenue in excess of 14 billion cedis. Mr. Speaker, I beg to say that that is not what is in the budget statement submitted to Parliament of Ghana. The budget statement that was submitted this year by the majority leader said that government has provisioned for, in Appendix 2A, had said that government has provisioned to collect revenue and taxes, total revenue and taxes amounting to 53 billion. The outturn as part of the revised budget, but the actual outturn was 55 billion. Speaker, I concede that the earlier budget had said that they were going to collect 62 billion. But even if you do that, the shortfall in revenue does not amount to 14 billion, but 12 billion. Yes. 67 billion, but that's even, and this is, I'm referring you to Appendix 2A of the budget statement. I can read it to you. This Appendix 2A of the budget statement, your own document. So, Mr. Speaker, it cannot be the case. Mr. Speaker, I often disagree with government anytime they think that the best way out to get money is to tax and blame COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be the case. If we are not careful, Mr. Speaker, we will end up introducing inefficiencies in the economy by imposing taxes. by imposing taxes. Mr. Speaker, I submit to you that we should look at the matter that has been submitted to us in the form of statement today in a way that will benefit the economy. The prices of cement is skyrocketing. It is affecting almost everything. Mr. Speaker, we should, and that is why, Mr. Speaker, I agree with you earlier on when the chairman of the Finance Committee some months ago had come before us and had said to all of us that we should constitute a committee to look into the prices of cement. Mr. Speaker, the prices of cement is actually going up to the extent that it is affecting the cost of housing. And housing is a basic necessity. It shouldn't be that expensive. But housing in Ghana is becoming too expensive because of the prices. And that is why I'm saying government of Ghana's policy is introducing a lot of inefficiencies. So they should look at the taxes all over again and where possible remove some of them. Particularly for cement, because it is not assisting the economy at all. So Speaker, the prices of iron rod is also skyrocketing. Everywhere you go, almost everybody is complaining. It is piling on to hardships. And so if government comes in the form of a budget and say to us that the way to go is to impose taxes, I would disagree with the government. They should rather check expenditure. Government expenditure is the problem, not taxes. So they should look at expenditure, and those ones that are frivolous expenditure, they should remove them and not to impose taxes. And that is why I submit that this matter is something that we should all be interested in. We are all interested in this matter because our constituents need houses. The prices of houses are increasing because of the price of cement and iron rods. Please, let's revisit this matter again and then look at the prices, because I strongly believe that there are areas we can cut. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me come to leadership. Let me come to leadership.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'm not debating or commenting.
Very well.
Suggestions, Mr. Speaker, an earlier decision by your good self is that the committee of Finance and Trade look at this issue.
If you also have such a time to say, you allow him to.
Mr. Speaker, your earlier directive. Mr. Speaker, your earlier directive was that the committees of trade and industry and committees of finance, we look at the matter relating to the rise in the prices. I was taking the wisdom of my good friend that this statement may also be referred to us so that we look at them together.
Very well. Let him come to leadership. Come again.
Mr. Speaker, I make the final comment because Honorable Abeji gave this, whatever, to Atu. You want to? Then go ahead.
Yes, Honorable Minority. Leadership. Yes, Honorable Samson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Leadership have yielded to you.
For the opportunity to contribute to this important statement. Mr. Speaker, we all know that every human being on this planet wants to have a house, but they have to go through stages to be able to acquire a house for he or herself. But as has been said earlier, prices of cement in 2020 in my constituency was 38 cedis per bag. Today it is 52 cedis per bag within a year. Look at the difference. 38 cedis in 2020 and today 52 cedis per bag.
All because of the taxes.
All because of taxes
Yes.
and levies
Yes.
that has been slapped on clinker and other materials or components needed for the production of cement.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, this is very important statement, which we should not sweep under the carpet, but seriously interrogate it and do something about it. Mr. Speaker, as has been said before, as Ghanaians, I want to suggest that we should also look at appropriate technological way of building houses in Ghana. Now, everybody who is building wants to use concrete. Everybody wants to use concrete to build. But our forefathers used landcrete. To build. Some of such houses are over 100 years, but they are still there. But traditionally, I believe when your colleague even see you using landcrete to build, they will laugh at you that you are poor or you are not enlightened, and that's why you are using landcrete. So we should also look at other options in the construction industry, because if we depend largely on cement, that is why, because if you go to other countries, they will build the component of the material they use in building houses, cement is just a minute of it. But Ghanaians, traditionally we want to use concrete. And concrete, you have to use cement before you can mold the blocks. And it comes with a cost. So if we can change our taste from concrete to landcrete, or even sometimes touch, and other ways of building houses, I'm sure we will not be talking about the high cost of cement in this country. Mr. Speaker? Huh? Mr. Speaker?
I'm raising a point of information.
What is happening?
Point of information. I want to yield to him.
Come again.
Point of information. Mr. Speaker, I'm raising on point of information, which is permissible.
I've yielded to him.
I'm not granting it.
Mr. Speaker, he has yielded.
I'm not granting. If something has finished, tell me we have. Then continue.
Mr. Speaker, please, I need this to continue my contribution. So if we can allow him.
No, I'm not admitting it. So we'll finish with you. Let me come to.
Finish. I'm not finished.
No.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Let me continue.
Then conclude.
So, Mr. Speaker, I agree entirely that the cost of building materials is too expensive in this country. And as Honorable Bejira said, it's not only cement which is expensive. There are other materials like iron rods that I said, very, very expensive. And so it is, government should be able to do something about it. And my colleague said that the prices are not because of the taxes that have been slapped on this, which is not true. Because if you go through the price build-up, you will see that chunk of it is as a result of taxes that have been imposed, taxes and levies that have been imposed on the pricing formula for cement. And so we should do something about it. And I also want to call on Ghanaians to try and then develop taste in using other materials so that we can reduce the cost of building in this country. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you and plead that you allow Honorable Eric 1 minute to fill in the gaps. Thank you very much.
Honorable Eric, there's no gap for you to fill. Yes, let him come to majority leadership.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to make few comments on the statement made by our respected colleague. Mr. Speaker, this is an important piece of information that is brought to our attention. And in particular, if you look at page 3 of the statement, the observation it makes on point 2. This is a matter that I think the Minister of Transport and Trade can together look at. Because, Mr. Speaker, if merely berthing is leading to extra charges to these manufacturers, then it should be addressed. And I believe that they will take the matter on board. But, Mr. Speaker, the impression that this statement also created was to the effect that taxes have contributed to the price escalation. That I beg to contend is not wholly correct. That I humbly contend is not wholly correct. Mr. Speaker, you know, yesterday I passed a comment that my colleagues are intolerant, and they are still demonstrating. Mr. Speaker, first, international price for clinker has increased globally by 27%. And I want to draw the attention of the maker of the statement. That is the first point, and you agree, 27% globally. You also agree that freight charges have skyrocketed. If somebody was paying 2,000 for a container today, the person is paying over 12,000. This is not, Mr. Speaker, the freight charges, no, freight, we are not talking about Ghana charges. We are talking about the freight charges. When you import, the charges, they charge you CIF rate or CFR. I'm saying that those are charges that the importer pays from the source. And I'm saying that this is an external factor, which has nothing to do with Ghana. Yes. That when containers, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Suleimana, you brought this important topic for discussion. You've made the statement. Allow members to also contribute. So allow him to finish. Allow him to finish. When you finish, then.
Mr. Speaker, enjoy the fact. I am saying that freight charges have gone up globally. Freight charges on prices that are paid by importers. These charges have nothing to do with the Ghanaian economy or government decision. Mr. Speaker, we know that for the past 6 months or so, we've had containers becoming scarce. So you are importing from China, you are importing from India, you are importing from Europe, and you are not getting containers to ferry your goods. Meanwhile, I know businessmen and women who are paying extra charges. If you want express, you have to pay more. This has nothing to do with the Ghanaian economy and government of Ghana decision. And clinker is affected. So that must also be mentioned. Mr. Speaker, now let us analyze the issue of tax, because my colleague has brought taxation up and we need to analyze it wholly. Question is, apart from the COVID-19 1% tax that you are talking about that is being imposed, And then you also mentioned 0.50 USD per ton. Mr. Speaker, levy, yes. With respect, Eric, if you allow it, you don't want to listen to a good debate. Mr. Speaker, those charges that were on clinker importation were charges that preceded this government, true or false? And Mr. Speaker, I am saying that the maker of the statement failed to talk about the rate of increase between 2012 and 2016. How do you expect us to accept you to have made an objective analysis of the situation when you only limit yourself to 2019? That is not objective enough. Mr. Speaker, it is important to draw your attention. You started your research somewhere. I will take you back. In your statement, you kept repeating research. I am saying that similar situation occurred long before 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. And I am saying that between 2012 and 2016.
Yes, leader, hold on.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Deputy Leader is here into debate. You have to make comment on the statement. If you are going that way, definitely you will get reaction. Because if you say taxes that have been imposed on clinker importation have been there before 2017, that is not true. The taxes that have been mentioned by the maker of the statement, where you talk about 1% COVID-19, was COVID-19 there before they came to power? No. The fumigation tax, was it there before? No. The sanitation and pollution levy, was it there before? No. So he is completely going into areas that you get reaction. So you should just stay on course and speak to the facts. What he's saying is completely out of order. These taxes were not there before 2017.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I'm not getting out of the comfort zone. They are only acting in bad faith. I know them. They are my friends. I know them. They can't take a bitter pill. I have not finished my analysis. I am saying that these impositions, we approve them here. I agree. But, Mr. Speaker, the quantum, let's look at the quantum as a basis for analysis. Mr. Speaker, let us look at the quantum.
Leader, you should address the chair. Why? No, it's not on.
Mr. Speaker, you see, yesterday I told you they are intolerant. Today they are repeating. The maker of the statement has spoken. He has a 3-page. At least listen to me, Mr. Speaker. That is democracy. You should listen. Listen. Mr. Speaker, he contends in his statement that these taxes have given rise to the escalation in prices. That is your contention. Now I counter that by telling you that it is not wholly true. Because to say that these have led to this, you must look at the quantum. I am saying that the 1% levy cannot be the factor for the escalated
honorable member
situation we have. However,
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member is misleading the House. And he should be forewarned that every time he speaks, the man has issued a statement. You can contribute to the statement as required by the standing order. But you cannot be pointing figures at him continuously. In any event, Mr. Speaker, the reference he made to taxes,
honorable member, you've raised your point.
No, I'm trying to raise
your point.
The reference he made to taxes were reference to new taxes. For example, 0.50 per ton per fumigation levy is new. It has just been introduced.
Honorable member, your deputy leader has already alluded to all these points you are raising. Please.
You can contribute to the debate. And stop pointing fingers at the maker of the statement.
Honorable member, what I'm saying, Honorable Alec, I wouldn't let you speak. Oh. Eric, Honorable, I leader conclude and let's move to another topic. I will have another. Please.
So, Mr. Speaker, the point I want to make here is that the statement as presented is misleading. The supposed facts are inaccurate. The maker of the statement's contention that prices of cement have skyrocketed as a result of levies and taxes cannot be correct. It can only hold if the quantum are such that, Mr. Speaker, it had a direct effect on the price. And I accordingly dare the maker of the statement to take his time, since he has consistently made reference to research, to tell us the 1% sanitation levy, its effect on producer price. Then we can have a good discussion. But for now, I dare challenge him that all that he has said in relation to the price of cement at the current retail point can never be factual. However, Mr. Speaker, I humbly submit that rather external factors such as charges on freight, the price of clinker globally have rather contributed significantly.
Demand for houses
to such prices as we have at the producer point. Mr. Speaker, I will conclude by commending the gentleman who spoke before me, Honorable Samson Ahi. He was once there as a housing. He suggested alternative ways of looking at the construction sector, housing, Mr. Speaker, and he was right on point because it's been part of policy. Mr. Speaker, when we are talking about construction, we should sell new ideas to our people. Mr. Speaker,
I hope you've concluded.
Mr. Speaker, I'm Akufo-Addo. Elembele Mugabe. I'll get him at the right time.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, there is this prefab construction technology that has been with us for years, but our people don't seem to like such approach. I think the time has come for us to market such a technology and other technologies that can aid cheaper construction. Mr. Speaker, these are important because, Mr. Speaker, I recall some 20 years ago when Gasem was the sole producer of cement, enjoyed monopoly. We thought that by opening up for others to come in, the problem will be solved. But it doesn't appear to be so, since they all depend on this clinker and all that. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that we have to take this matter serious and look at the recommendation, the good suggestions from Honorable Samson Ahi, which looked at the interests of Ghanaians, not joint-based analysis of the situation with the aim of scoring, Mr. Speaker, if I, for want of a better word, scoring cheap political points.
by the maker of the statement, because the analysis was, he didn't make an accurate analysis. Yes, it is serious. Yes, he aimed at scoring cheap political points. Mr. Speaker, I do contend. That is my comment. Yes, because Mr. Speaker, if you come to this house and you decide to use 1%, Mr. Speaker, I dare him to calculate. Now I challenge you, all of you can write. Calculate the percentage on the manufacturing price. Calculate it. Mr. Speaker, they should calculate. You can't mislead the House that the 1% sanitation tax has led to the prices at the retail point. Find out, calculate and produce evidence. Mr. Speaker, it is a joint discussion aimed at scoring cheap political points. That is my contention.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I think that we are moving to an area which will not augur well for this House. If a member prepare a statement duly admitted by your good self, and you allow the member to read that statement on the floor, and a leader from government side to tell the member that the member is wanted to score a cheap political point. So that it will not augur well for us. It will not augur well for us. He has not been fair to the maker of the statement at all. Mr. Speaker, if 1% is not important, why did the government even come with the 1%? They needed that revenue. They needed that money. It means that the 1% is important. So for a deputy leader from the majority side, who is the leader of government business, to say that a member made a statement to score cheap political points, we take strong objection. He is noted for making statements that do not augur well for the cohesion of the House. Mr. Speaker, please direct him to do the right thing. We have taken objection. They should withdraw that statement and apologize to the maker of the statement.
The leader of the House, please withdraw that statement from me.
Mr. Speaker, I mean, in all seriousness, Mr. Speaker, in all seriousness, this is a House of Records. Yesterday, Honorable I.Y. Opoku brought a statement. When it got to the turn of Honorable Eric Opoku to make comments, his contention was to the fact that the statement presented was inaccurate, and that it was his duty to point out the inaccuracies, and that it was misleading. The deputy minority leader got up and defended the position to say that, yes, he is entitled to debate the issues if the facts were not accurate. On my feet, all I am saying is that he provides 3 points to say that the taxes.
Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Leader, I've gotten what you have said. My position is that the fact that you said the statement was meant to score cheap political points, it means the speaker who more or less admitted the statement didn't look. Please just take out that for me. Just withdraw that statement from me.
All right, Mr. Speaker. I think that is a language we use as politicians. But if on this occasion and on this occasion only, it is a problem that it would be inappropriate to use cheap political points. I withdraw. I withdraw. No, I withdraw.
No. Apologize for what?
Mr. Speaker, no problem. You are my respected colleagues. If you're offended by it, accept my sincere apologies. Then, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, having said that, it is fair to then conclude that the statement as presented is inaccurate and is misleading.
Very well.
And same must not be seen as an objective analysis of the situation. I so submit.
Very well. Very well, you are entitled to that. Honorable members, as the Finance Committee Chairman earlier on alluded to, this particular statement or similar statement has been made and reference were made to Finance Committee and Trade and Industry Committee. Please just add up this particular one and let's have the report as soon as possible.
Mr. Speaker, since we are talking about the boat industry, I want to plead that you allow Western Housing Committee to be part of that group.
It's okay. Western House can also join. Honorable members, we are moving to the second statement, and the statement.
Mr. Speaker, we have an application, most humbly, sir. Mr. Speaker, if we may vary the order paper, Mr. Speaker, and proceed to take motions 8, 9, 11, and 16 with respect, Mr. Speaker. We've agreed, yes.
Very well. So we move to page 3, item number 7, motion by the chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that this House adopt the report of the Finance Committee on the report of the public.
Honorable, hold on. I think the motion is 8.
Yes, please.
Yes, good.
Yes, but Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I'd like to move both together because the reports have been put together.
Very well.
I rise to move that the motions listed as items 8 and 9 be moved. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to present your committee's report, which is a report of the Finance Committee on the annual report of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee on the management of the petroleum revenues for the year 2020, together with that for the half year, the first half of the year, the same 2020. The Speaker, the appearance of a PIAC before us and the referral are in accordance with Section 52 and 56 of Act 815. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee submitted its reports to us, and your committee did some detailed work on the observations they made. So, Mr. Speaker, under paragraph 4, we see the key findings by PIAC. Under paragraph 5, paragraph 4.2 to 4.6, we see the related observations that PIAC made. We see the return on investments under paragraph 4.8, how the allocations were done, and in particular allocations to GMPC under paragraph 4.9, and then the committee made observations in respect of GMPC as captured under paragraph 5.1, debt owed by state agencies to GMPC under the following paragraph, how the balances on the ABFA was used, Mr. Speaker, has been captured under paragraphs 5.3 and 5.4. I plead with the Hansa Department to capture the entire report since I have highlighted the highlights. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the committee carefully considered the reference and recommends to this House to adopt its report of PIAC on the management of petroleum revenues for the year 2020 and the report of the same committee
on the first half of the year 2020. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Yes, the ranking.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to second the motion that was moved by the chairman of the Finance Committee. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, let me first commend the Public Interest and Accountability Committee for a very diligent work done. Mr. Speaker, I have seen a minimum of 10 reports, annual reports from PIAC, but I can confidently say that PIAC is improving day by day, and they are holding government very accountable. I will also say that PIAC indeed is living up to its mandate that was enshrined in the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, Act 815, and they will need to be commended. Mr. Speaker, indeed, Government of Ghana is not wasting the monies that has been allocated to the Public Interest and Accountability Committee at all, because they are really working, and we in this House will need to commend them appropriately for a good work done. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, let me also say that for the year under review, PIAC informed us that the Government of Ghana collected petroleum revenue amounted to $666.3 million, being petroleum receipts. Speaker, of this amount, an amount of $170 million are in the form of income taxes, surface tax rentals, and interest coming from the petroleum holding funds. Again, Mr. Speaker, we were indeed informed that the Public Interest Accountability Committee, that the Petroleum Holding Fund, interest accruing from Petroleum Holding Fund amounted to 86.81 million Ghana cedis, and the Stabilization Fund also accrued an interest of $13.1 million. Mr. Speaker, I contend that it is about time that Government of Ghana review the Petroleum Management Act to allow the Central Bank, the Bank of Ghana, to change the instrument in which they can actually invest our petroleum holding funds, particularly the Heritage Fund. Mr. Speaker, because this is not yielding as much as we anticipate. Successive government has talked about this over the years. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, none of the successive government has been able to appear before us to make changes into how we will invest some of this fund. I wish to urge the government of the day, since the Deputy Minister responsible for finance is here, to, as a matter of urgency, as part of the media, as part of the budget, bring some form of instrument before us so that we can change this. Because, Mr. Speaker, we are actually earning a peanut out of that. Mr. Speaker, one thing that strikes me out of this report is the fact that, Mr. Speaker, the Ghana National Petroleum Company, GNPC, has lended an amount of $549.3 million to government. $549.3 million. Mr. Speaker, you can find this in page 10 of the report. Mr. Speaker, as if we are turning the GNPC into a quasi-fiscal agency. Mr. Speaker, that is not right. To the extent that Government of Ghana is collecting a quantum amount of $549 million from the National Oil Company, Mr. Speaker, this is not good enough. This amount, Mr. Speaker, if we allow the National Oil Company to invest this amount, they will be able to turn around properly, than to give the money to them and turn around and then collect this money. Mr. Speaker, it will also surprise you that the GMPC, out of the 666 million that we received in revenue, Government of Ghana actually gave GMPC almost $200 million, which is 198 million. The Speaker, this amount is close to the amount that went into the budget, $273.3 million. So we should pay attention to the amount going to GMPC, not only what is going into the budget, the petroleum revenue going to the budget. GMPC is receiving so much of our oil revenue, yet the scrutiny going to GMPC, Mr. Speaker, is woefully inadequate. I urge that this House get interest in the way GMPC spend their money. $200 million. Oftentimes, government gives them the money, and the same government turns around and instructs GMPC to use the money for something else. Mr. Speaker, that is quasi-fiscal financing and it should not be allowed. Mr. Speaker, again, PIAC had said that government of Ghana, they disagree with the Ministry of Finance in particular, in the way they have treated an amount of 827 million being ABFA amount. Mr. Speaker, it is important that we state this for the record. Mr. Speaker, the report says that the Ministry of Finance indeed explained how this amount was used. But PIAC vehemently disagrees with the Ministry of Finance. They believe the amount is still missing. The words of PIAC, Mr. Speaker, this is not my words, these are the words of PIAC and it's in their report, that an amount of 827 million Ghana cedis is still missing at the Ministry of Finance. And so therefore, Ministry of Finance should account for it properly. Mr. Speaker, at the committee meeting, the Ministry of Finance provided us some answers. Mr. Speaker, I am not satisfied with that answers. And I agree with PIAC that the Ministry of Finance must come properly in accounting for the 827 million US dollars at Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, it's not chicken money. It's not chicken money. 827 million Ghana cedis. It's not chicken money. It's big. In fact, fat. And this amount cannot be missing in our fiscal reporting. Mr. Speaker, I urge the Ministry of Finance that in as much as they have provided the Finance Committee with some information, that information, it is not satisfactory to me. It is not satisfactory to the Public Interest and Accountability Committee of Government. Mr. Speaker, and for that matter, we in this House should summon the Minister responsible for Finance to appear before us to explain to us how that amount is accounted for. Mr. Speaker, 827 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, that is so much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rest my case.
Honorable members, the motion has been moved and the motion has been seconded. It is for the consideration of the House. I'm inclined to invite two from each side to contribute to the debate. So I'll take two from this side, I'll take two from the other side. So I'll begin from member for Inshayaso, Honorable Dr. Stephen Amwa.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Hold on, but Honorable, you are not Matthew Poku Prempe.
I am not. Oh, yes, please, I'm not, Speaker.
Oh, why? Would it change anything? Why are people like that?
Oh. Mr. Speaker, once again, I thank you for this prestigious opportunity.
No, go and speak. Let them don't like them.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to first say kudos to the Finance Ministry managers for the fact that PIAC's report has clearly indicated, without any ambiguity or debate, that if you look at the liftings of the crude oil and other inflows as a result of the unfortunate pandemic COVID-19 eruption, all these parameters have been reduced. Yet our Finance Ministry, under the good leadership of Honorable Ken Oforiatta and the deputies, they have been able to put the money into very good and judicious use. Mr. Speaker, I am quite surprised that my senior member, ranking member, on the same committee is actually trying to place, to me, an archaic emphasis on the figure of 2 million being actually challenged by PIAC. I would like to find out whether Auditor General, as part of their jurisdiction and defined core responsibilities, do not audit the Finance Ministry and its outlays? And if they do, is there anything that indicates the fact or otherwise that such amount has been used without any supporting materials? Because I know that before such statement is made, first, you need to consider the reporting framework. Two, you need to consider the materiality and the narrative and the supporting document to show that we cannot trace this money along the critical activity path that will enable us draw some of these inferences. So I would like the ranking member to further give us particulars and materials to support this assertion, because it is entirely false. Mr. Speaker, I think what we have to do is that we need to offer credence to the appropriate authorities and their core responsibilities before we emphasize and support some of these claims. All that I'm saying is that, Mr. Speaker, the Finance Ministry has put up very splendid and exclusive performance in managing the resources of the state, in spite of the fact that our fiscal space has been congested because of the COVID, slowing our market and industry operations and activities, slowing productivity, leading to low revenue generation. Unlike other countries, Ghana, even though we are having challenges because of the pandemic, we've been able to make use of our resources extremely well. We should rather praise the Finance Ministry so that it will motivate them and the future ones to do so. Mr. Speaker, I would like to end by saying that PIAC's report is good, it's not bad, but then some aspect of it, making my senior member, making this, in my opinion, comments without any materiality, we have to check that. It takes the Auditor General Radha's report to be giving these conclusions and inferences. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity once again.
Thank you very much. Let me come to Honorable Member for Lempele.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me thank the Finance Committee and a very good work done on the PIAC report for 2020. Mr. Speaker, I think in the report, first, paragraph 340, the report talked about the development of the upstream oil and gas sector and talked about the fact that there has been a stoppage of drilling activities. It listed that almost all the companies operating the upstream sector had to stop work. All the work programs that had been given them were stopped. One of the reasons given was the pandemic. But Mr. Speaker, that should be a matter of worry for us. That should be a matter of great worry for this republic. Mr. Speaker, why is this important? Because in this report, the oil production and the gas production that has been talked about are all coming from 3 producing fields: 10, Jubilee, Sankofa. Mr. Speaker, I am very proud of where I sit, that those are the handiworks of the NDC government. Nothing has been added. That's a fact. But Mr. Speaker, more importantly, we should be very concerned that we are not increasing oil and gas production. And that really goes to the core of the revenue we are looking for development. Mr. Speaker, we must focus on that. Why am I very concerned? Now, recently we heard of the exit of a major oil player in Ghana. That sends signal to the industry when ExxonMobil comes to your country and leaves. And quite frankly, leaves under very questionable circumstances. As I speak, the government of Ghana has been taken to court by another major, ENI. Talo has issues with the government of Ghana in taxes. It's in the report. It's about oil production. And so, Mr. Speaker, these are very important matters that we must be concerned about because it goes to the core of increasing our oil production and gas production. Mr. Speaker, what is also very worrisome in this report has to do with the annual budget funding amount and how we have utilized it for the last 11 years. Mr. Speaker, we all were lucky to be here when we were passing the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. In 2009. I remember that very well. And our objective was to make sure that we were different as a country, that we are going to utilize oil revenues to the benefit of the people of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, in this report, PIAC is telling us that they cannot account for 827 million Ghana cedis. Where is in the report? You want me to read it? You can't read it? I'll read it for you. You have to show me where it is. 5.2, debt owed by state agencies. No. I'll read it for you. Mr. Speaker, that is a matter that must be reconciled. The Ministry of Finance. Show me. Oh, why? I have it here. I'll read it for you. I'll read it for you. Utilization balances of ABFA. The committee observed from the report that a total amount of 827 million of the unspent ABFA was utilized to partially meet shortfalls, which is quite frankly. Yes, the PIAC disagreed with them. But the PIAC went ahead to say that they completely disagreed with this view. Mr. Speaker, the point is that we must address this issue. This issue has been lingering for some time.
Honourable Minister, I'll come to you. I'll give you time to talk. So,
Mr. Speaker, another important matter is that it talked about almost 4,000 projects that are spread thin across the country on how we are utilizing oil revenue. Mr. Speaker, I think as a country after 11 years of oil production, we must come back to ask the question. So after 30 years of oil production, what can we point to that we use the oil revenue for? We spread this whole thing. And the argument was made. The argument was made that we must really think big. Is it railways for the next 10 years? Is that what we wanted to do? Please stop it. Don't let me go there. Because if we start talking about
Honourable, please address the chair.
Mr. Speaker, so that is a matter that I think must be brought to this House attention. We must revisit how we have spent oil revenue in the last 11 years and really make a decision to deal with big ticket items that will really make an impact for our country. I agree with you. Because as we speak, frankly, we cannot really point to big projects that we have used oil revenue for, and that is very unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, it's also very important as we talk about the PIAC report to understand that there's a very conscious decision we made here in this House that we are not only going to allocate money for the annual budget funding amount, but we're also going to leave money aside for future generations because this is a final resource. Let us be united in this point. That it doesn't matter how tough it becomes. Nobody should think about touching the heritage fund. Nobody. It's not for us, the living, it's for people yet unborn. We rushed, spent the second one, what do you call it? It's kind of emergency, my friend. We rushed and spent the stabilization fund, and you know, you were here. But let us agree that we are not. And I hope the Minister of Finance has no designs on the Heritage Fund, because I know we will resist it. Mr. Speaker, the other important point.
Honourable, may you conclude?
I'm concluding. The other important point, and I must base this point, has to do with gas production. Mr. Speaker, the NDC government brought this country to the gas era. It is the reason that the long LPG lines were gone. It is the reason that the power plants in Ghana, almost 70%, are now using indigenous gas. Mr. Speaker, you were here when you heard that the NDC has done a lot of take-or-pay projects. Today, as I speak to you, Mr. Speaker, you saw a reduction in gas production. Why in the world will anybody bring a take-or-pay LNG project when we have more than enough gas in the western basins? And it's a take-or-pay from this government that preach no take-or-pay. Mr. Speaker, we should be serious. What is very sad and what is dangerous is that as I speak to you, Ghana Gas is owed. In this report, it says 800 million. It's over $1 billion today as I speak. In gas that has been supplied to VRA, that has not been paid. Mr. Speaker, this debt in the energy sector must be dealt with because it has a real potential for sending us back to doomsday and really destroying this economy. And so it's an issue that we must address. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Oh my God.
Yes. Minister, can I come to you?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to correct a misleading impression that has been made from the report that is before this Honorable House. On page 11 of the report that is before us, on the specific issue of utilization of balances of the ABFA on the amount of 827 million. The same report on page 11, and I'm sure the Honorable Member did not avert his mind to the full report. The Ministry of Finance explained that the 8.6 million that was utilized was not as a result of a shortfall in the ABFA receipts for 2020, but rather they were in respect of outstanding projects under the ABFA that were completed in 2020 and were duly paid for. Honorable members will recall that PIAC in its previous reports drew attention to the existence of this matter. The said projects were completed in the year under review, and upon the presentation of certificates, payment was effected amounting to 827.6 million. Honorable Speaker, these facts have been provided to the committee. Mr. Speaker, these facts have been provided and captured in the report, and yet we are told in this House that an amount of 827 million cannot be found. When receipts and certificates have been provided at the committee's level to explain the circumstances of this amount. So it is misleading and inaccurate for honorable members to refer to this matter as outstanding. It has been discussed and settled at the committee level and captured in this report in page 11. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me give the last opportunity to Honorable Member for Ho Central.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. I join my ranking member to applaud PIAC for their new vim, which they have exhibited in pursuing this assignment given to them. Mr. Speaker, this PIAC report is like an audit report, and you see, they delve into how much was realized, how much oil was produced, how the monies were used. So it's like an audit report. And I will even recommend, Mr. Speaker, that apart from the report going to Finance Committee, it should also be referred to the Public Accounts Committee so that all the stakeholders in the oil revenue management process appear publicly to answer questions at the Public Accounts Committee. That will expose them to greater details answering the questions or filling up the gap. Mr. Speaker, PIAC has embarked on its own monitoring activities. Indeed, they had a team in my constituency to come and inspect projects which were undertaken using the ABFA. 2 clinic projects, and they were in Whole West constituency as well. And that's how come they are able to produce some of these reports. Mr. Speaker, there is this hanging issue of $50 million. The government which took the money is telling GNPC that they cannot give them that money any longer because they took it from their capped amount. Now, it is the same government that introduced the earmarks capping and realignment act. And so they are telling you that as a result of what we have done, your 50 million is gone. Why is JPC still holding this $50 million dollars as a receivable like they are expecting from the government? I think we should put an end to this so that we don't have it recurring in our report. Mr. Speaker, the issue of unutilized ABFA is a serious matter. The budgets are constructed every year, and funds into the ABFA are expected to be applied to carry out projects. Now, you go to projects, contractors have abandoned them because they have not been paid. But you say you have kept the unutilized money. And where is it? Where have they kept it? Because PIAC is even reporting. I can quote from the PIAC own report. The PIAC observes that all the disbursements do not provide details of the projects and programs that were supported. The committee looks forward to these details to enable it to monitor implementation. PIAC has been of the position that unspent ABFA should be deposited back into the PHF, that's the Petroleum Holding Funds, for reallocation the following financial year. The ministry, on the other hand, holds the view that the PRMA provides for withdrawal from the PHF for ABFA, but not deposit of ABFA into the PHF. There is need to find a common ground in the spirit of the PRMA that will avoid the accumulation of unspent ABFA as experienced over the past 3 years. So we are concerned, like PIAC, about money allocated to ABFA, but not used. And where is it kept? Where is it kept? Is it in the consolidated fund, or the ministry has got another bank account into which these unspent amounts are kept? Or is it missing? Those are the questions which PIAC is. I'm reading directly from the PIAC report, not the Finance Committee report. Mr. Speaker, another major thing which I have to raise is that PIAC relied solely on the PRMA Act 815 to do its report. There is a big shortcoming there. In June 2019, the Supreme Court gave new directives about the use of oil and gas proceeds. They have not taken account of it. So you read the whole report and you don't find the relevance of the Supreme Court ruling in the use of oil money. It is not there. I cannot find it on any page. If the committee chairman, if our chairman found something related to that, he can bring it up.
And I will. Honourable Member, I haven't asked you to. Don't respond to him. Okay,
you let me finish. Mr. Speaker, I think that.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on Order 93-4, which requires members not to make references to subject matters that are not on the table for discussion. The Supreme Court ruling was on the minimum of 5% constitutional requirement that should go to the District Assembly's Common Fund. The report we are discussing today has to do with the PIAC, the committee's report on PIAC. I think the honourable member is out of order, and I hope you call him to order.
Very well. So, honourable member, please.
Mr. Speaker.
Just restrict yourself to the PIAC. But meanwhile, you've also taken a lot of time. So, if you may conclude for us.
Mr. Speaker, I reject the issue raised by the committee chairman. If PIAC is doing an audit of if PIAC is doing an audit of petroleum revenues, it must take into account all relevant laws. And the ruling of the Supreme Court is part of Ghana's laws, which must be taken. So, Mr. Speaker, I am asking that you direct the Attorney General to furnish the ruling of the Supreme Court to the PIAC, so that when they are doing their audit, they will take account of whatever directives are there, because they concern the distribution of oil revenue. You have a whole chapter on the use of ABFA, and the Supreme Court has given directives as to how ABFA should be used. So I don't see why they will not comment on it. So I think because they lack the details of the ruling of the court. So I think that the Attorney General should officially serve PIAC, so that they will use it in determining how the petroleum revenues are to be used. Mr. Speaker, I have earlier said that since this report is like an audit report, it should be forwarded to the Public Accounts Committee as well, so that they can invite all the relevant stakeholders, GMPC, Ministry of Finance, and all the rest who are necessary, to also answer as to how they have applied the funds of the funds of the state realized from oil proceeds. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well. But your directive to ask PIAC, Supreme Court to furnish PIAC, I don't think it's the Supreme Court judgments are available. Whoever is interested can furnish himself. So I don't think there's the need for it. But Attorney General, whatever it is, it's available. Whoever wants the report of Supreme Court judgment, I think it's not something that is hidden. I was going to put the question. Honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is, as many as are in support of the motion say aye. Those against the motion say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Yes, we move to.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, available leader. Yes.
Just to draw attention to the time, it's almost 2 o'clock. So, yes, to avert your mind's record.
Very well. So we move to motion number 10 and 11.
Mr. Speaker, 11 and 16. 11 first.
11 and 16.
Yes, but 11 first.
Very well. 11 and 16. So let's turn our attention to page 4. Page 4, motion number 11. But before the chairman move the motion, as Honorable Samsahi drew all of us, our attention, the time is 2 o'clock, and I respectfully direct that sitting continues beyond 2. So, Honorable Chairman, you may move the motion.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that this Honorable House adopt the report of the Finance Committee on the annual report on the petroleum funds for the 2020 fiscal year. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I present your committee's report. The purpose of the report, as stipulated in Section 48 of Act 815, is to inform the House on the audited financial statements of the previous year, comprising the receipts and transfers to and from the Petroleum Holding Fund, the deposits into and withdrawals from the Ghana Stabilization Fund, and the Ghana Heritage Fund, and 3, balance sheet including a note listing the qualifying instruments of the Ghana Petroleum Funds. Mr. Speaker, your committee observed that during the period under review, the Ghana negotiating team continued its negotiation of petroleum agreements and engagements with bid winners of the licensing round, as well as other companies which apply through direct negotiations. The other observations made, Mr. Speaker, are listed under paragraph 4 of the report. The total petroleum receipts for 2020 was some $666.4 million, which is 0.9% above the target of $660.4 million, but lower than the 2029 outturn of $937.6 million by some 28.9%. The relatively low revenues in 2020 was mainly on account of lower achieved average crude oil price of $43.3 compared to $63.2 in 2019. The breakdown of the receipts, Mr. Speaker, can be found under Table 1 on page 3 of the report. And at this point, Mr. Speaker, if you permit me, I'd like to draw members' attention to an error which I hereby correct. On page 4, Table 2 is allocation of 2020 petroleum receipts, not 2019. So we see the 2020 petroleum receipts detailed out under Table 2. The utilization of the annual budget funding amount, APFA, under 4.4, under 4.5 in respect of the unutilized balances of ABFA. The committee was informed, Mr. Speaker, that from 2017 to 2019, total unutilized ABFA balances amounted to 1.48 billion Ghana cedis. Details of the unutilized ABFA are captured under Table 4 of the report. We see the committee's observation on petroleum funds under paragraph 4.6, 4.7, returns on sale, and then under 4.8, the committee observed that the Ministry of Finance, in collaboration with stakeholders, are working on the amendment of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815, and the committee urged them to step up the speed on that work. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, after careful considerations, the committee is of the view that the report complies with the requirements of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, Act 815. The committee, having carefully examined the referral, recommends to the House to adopt this report respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Yeah, let me come to you, Ranking.
My future friend. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to second the motion, and in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I wish to advert the House's attention to the fact that the first debate we had, or the report we considered, was a report by PIAC on this report. Mr. Speaker, the law mandates the Ministry of Finance to provide us semi-annual report, the annual report of the Petroleum Holding Funds, this. And that is why PIAC also has a responsibility to report on the same two reports. Mr. Speaker, I would have wished that we took this one first before we go to the PIAC report. But in any case, Mr. Speaker, it gives us an opportunity to look at what is here and what we had already discussed. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, let me advert the House's attention to item 4.5. Item 4.5, unutilized balances of the annual budget funded amount, ABFA. Mr. Speaker, it says that in the year 2017, an amount of 400 million Ghana cedis was unutilized. Mr. Speaker, again, in the year 2018, an amount of 251.3 million Ghana cedis was unutilized. Mr. Speaker, in the year 2019, 827.6 million Ghana cedis, OP, was also unutilized. The Speaker, all the 3 years put together, an amount, and all the 3 years put together, an amount of 1.4 billion Ghana cedis was unutilized, according to the report. The Speaker, it is at this point that the ministry informed us that the balances of 1.479 billion Ghana cedis was used in the year 2020. Mr. Speaker, I recall that in the year 2020, the then Deputy Minister for Finance and still a Deputy Minister for Finance, Honorable Abena Osei Asare, an MP, came here to inform us during budget debate, that the unutilized ABFA amount has expired and it has gone back to chest. So, Speaker, all of a sudden, this money has resurfaced somewhere. This money that PIAC has been complaining about continuously, almost 1.5 billion Ghana cedis has resurfaced. So, Speaker, my concern is, it is the same amount of 1.479 billion Ghana cedis that PIAC disagrees on its implementation or its usage. Speaker, you will notice that if you go further to the same report, item 4.5, page 5, item C, is the 827.6 million was utilized to partially meet the shortfall in ABA receipt caused by the impact of COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, in this country, everything COVID-19. Everything COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, my very concern is that you could see that the Ministry of Finance's explanation on this one is very different from what they said in the PIAC report. So, Speaker, that is why I agree with PIAC that the system whereby always and every time in 3 years in a row, always there is an unutilized ABFA amount. That amount should be paid back into the Petroleum Holding Fund, instead of going back and being consumed by the way fiscal reporting is always done. So, Speaker, I am not aware that there is a particular bank account of state. Speaker, I have asked this question in this house, that if the Ministry of Finance is saying this amount is there, they should show us which government account that the money is. It is at that point that Honorable Abena Osei Asare had said to us that that money has gone back to chest and it has not, is still not available to the state. Today, we've been told that in the year 2020, this amount of 1.4 billion was spent for some other form. So, Speaker, let me say that this amount of 1.4 billion, being ABFA amount, requires a proper look into. We need to look into it in terms of how this amount came in and how it was spent. Because, Speaker, I do not agree with the Ministry of Finance in terms of the explanation that was given to us. Because PIAC, the ones that have been clothed with the responsibility, to look into how this amount are used, are saying otherwise. Who am I? I have not been to the Ministry of Finance to look at it. But since PIAC had said that they disagree with the Ministry of Finance in terms of its accounting, I cannot support the Ministry of Finance in any way. It's important that we get PIAC to go back and then give us a proper report only on the unutilized ABFA. The Speaker, 1.4 billion Ghana cedis is big money. The Speaker, it's large. And that amount, we cannot allow it. We cannot allow that money to disappear. So, Speaker, the way it is, I don't know whether it is a disappear whether it's missing or the money is sitting somewhere. The Ministry of Finance, since the two deputy ministers, one deputy minister, the Minister of State is here. The Speaker, my friend, the Minister of State is here. I urge him to give us proper explanation today, because we need it. We need it. 1.4 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, we cannot allow that money to get missing. So please come again and give us some better and further particulars. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me invite Honorable Amianta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the debate on the report of the Finance Committee on the report of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee. Mr. Speaker, first of all, the report talked about returns on investment of the petroleum funds. And I listened to some of my colleagues on the other side make a big case out of this. It is true that the returns are not as much as we would have wished. But it is also true that in passing the PRM, the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, Parliament was concerned about the risk of the investment that the petroleum funds will be put to. They were concerned about investing in conservative low-risk instruments to protect the principal amount. We know that petroleum revenues are volatile already on account of the volatility of crude oil prices. And therefore, to invest the petroleum funds in risky instruments would have destabilized the flow of funds into the petroleum funds and thereby affect other financing requirements, such as the role the stabilization fund is providing in the government budget. Mr. Speaker, the report also mentioned that government has been spreading the oil money thinly over so many projects, and for that matter, we are not maximizing our benefits from the use of the revenue. Mr. Speaker, as per Section 22 of Act 815, we shall not have statutory earmarking of the petroleum revenues, and that is what the law provides. And therefore, if you look at the expenditure to which the ABFA has been allocated over the years, they have been allocated alongside expenditure allocation from other sources of revenue, Government of Ghana, IGF, Internal Generated Funds, because of the issue of statutory earmarking. If we want to allow for earmarking of the petroleum revenue, then there may be the need to amend the law to allow for us to use the revenue in high impact investment in order for us to match the benefits of the use of the money. Mr. Speaker, the report expressed concern about declining oil production, and for that matter, the low production we experienced in 2020. And I listened to the Honorable Amabua, who want to accuse this government of not doing much. But the reality is that this is a global phenomenon. Because of COVID, which has been raised earlier, Tullow Oil and the Jubilee partners had to suspend works 2 years ago, which would have left us at production plateau. But this work had to be suspended. And this is why you witnessed a decline in production in 2020. That is the reality. But having said this, it wasn't only Ghana that was affected. Many other producers of oil stopped work, they suspended work, and globally, production has declined by between 6 to 8% globally. And this is why you see that while demand is picking up, because we are recovering from COVID, supply is not able to meet global demand. And this is the reason global oil prices have increased up to around $80, and some people are speculating that it may even increase to $100 per barrel. Mr. Speaker, he also said that ExxonMobil had to leave. So unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that a company like Exxon had to leave. But my colleagues, as we have always said, they don't read. Because ExxonMobil itself has explained why they had to leave Ghana. And it's not only Ghana that they left. They also left South Africa. They left other areas where they are investing in new projects.
Honorable member for Karaga, please take off that word. Take it. Please take that word, please.
Mr. Speaker, I've taken out that word with your permission.
Well. Honorable, continue.
Mr. Speaker, ExxonMobil itself, Mr. Speaker, has explained why they have to leave Ghana. Mr. Speaker,
honorable member, please withdraw that.
Mr. Speaker, I've withdrawn accordingly. I've withdrawn.
Honorable members, my instructions was to withdraw. I didn't add apology, please.
Mr. Speaker, Exxon itself has explained on their website at the time they left Ghana that they were cutting down on new projects and they were not ready to invest in frontier areas. This is just because of their energy transition plan. And it wasn't only Ghana they left South Africa. They actually had 2 blocks in South Africa. They left South Africa and some other countries in Asia. And so you cannot blame the government of Ghana for the exit of ExxonMobil when Exxon is just implementing its own energy transition plan. Mr. Speaker, if they are accusing us of not adding production, the contracts they sign with the companies, let them tell us what capacity those companies had. They signed contracts with companies which didn't have capacity. And these companies could not do exploration. How do we increase production if you sign contracts with companies that cannot do exploration? And to date, because of the scrutiny of our government, we have terminated 4 offset contracts. We've terminated the contract with UB, Swasco, Britannia U, and Sahara, because we are looking for companies that will have the capacity and that will come and partner with us to do exploration and increase. They're also talking about some $50 million, as if this government took $50 million from GMPC and refused to give it back to GMPC. That is not correct. This $50 million, as the honorable member for Whole Central said, was taken by the NDC government in 2014. In 2014, you took the $50 million from GMPC. If you had the money, why didn't you return it in 2015? Why didn't you return it in 2016? And you now want to accuse this government of taking money from GMPC and not giving it back to GMPC. You should explain to Ghanaians what you did with the $50 million you took from GMPC. And when you were taking it, didn't you know that GMPC was not a quasi-fiscal agent when you were taking that money from them? Mr. Speaker, yesterday, our President, His Excellency the President, presented Ghana's position at COP26 on our policy for the oil industry. Because of the energy transition, there is a fast movement by some countries that we reduce oil production. In fact, IEA is even recommending that no country or no bank should invest in oil and gas projects any longer. But the reality is that countries like Ghana cannot stop producing oil and gas because it is so important to get the revenue. The revenue we are talking about will not come about if we do not produce oil and if we do not invest in further exploration to produce oil. And therefore, we must rise to support our president to attract the needed investment into our oil and gas industry so that we can increase exploration, find the oil, we increase production, and we can increase the revenue that we so much need to support our economy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, let me come to Honorable Edward Bauer. Bongo.
Of your team. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the debate. And in doing that, first and foremost, I would want to congratulate the Committee on Finance for a very good job done. But before I go straight to what I want to talk about, it is important to just put a few things in their rightful perspective. One, you have a situation where my colleague who just finished speaking indicates that if you look at the Ministry of Finance, the advance that was given to the Ministry of Finance of 50, that's page 10, because he referred to that. Look, Mr. Chairman, don't worry. It is important for my colleague to understand that the PIAC report is based on the report that you are talking about in terms of the petroleum holding funds. So when I'm commenting on this, I'm putting them together to make sense out of the argument that I'm trying to make. And I'm indicating very clearly that out of the 11 items that have been stated, which 549,324,551.50 dollars, apart from the 50 million, all the 10 items were taken by this current government. So if you want to really be objective in your analysis, it is important to talk about all these items and not just isolate just the 50 million as a basis. But what is even more criminal, Mr. Speaker, is this. If you look at item 11, they talk about Ministry of Finance bust under recoveries. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that the speaker before me was the deputy minister. I don't know whether he's still the deputy minister in charge of petroleum. He indicated in trying to deal with this, one of the things he has not told us is the fact that if you look at the bust under recoveries, this under recovery is taken care of by the price buildup. There's a particular item on the price buildup which is known as the energy debt recovery.
Yes, Honorable Obi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to find out from my colleague on the other side whether he said he doesn't know that Honorable Amin is the deputy minister. Hello, you don't know whether he's the deputy minister. You said you don't know whether he's the deputy minister.
I can understand my colleague.
Yes.
Honorable Obi Amwa. I mean, sometimes you are a bit tired.
He's a senior deputy minister.
Yes, as a deputy senior minister, as a senior deputy minister, I can understand your concern. What I was indicating was that my colleague, as far as I know, between 2017 and 2020, he was a deputy minister responsible for petroleum. As we speak today, I do not know, and I cannot be stating facts that I don't have. And so that's the point I made. But at least I know that
he's a deputy minister.
He was challenging. So, Mr. Speaker, maybe if they are more comfortable,
honorable members,
let me indicate that my colleague, who is the deputy minister for energy, one thing he has not told this house is that if you look at the price buildup, there's an item there known as the energy debt recovery levy. There's an item.
Hold on. Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I rise again on Order 93.4. I rise again on Order 93.4 to point out that the matter under discussion is Motion 11, which is on petroleum funds. The both charges and the petroleum taxes you refer to are not part of petroleum funds. He's therefore not speaking to the subject and the discussion. And Mr. Speaker, I request that he's made to come back to the discussion. But also, secondly, Mr. Speaker, under our governance arrangements, Mr. Speaker, there's no such designation as Deputy Minister in charge of so or so. So for the member to start making those suggestions here is to introduce things that are extraneous to the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. I hope he's brought, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Luckily enough, I have patience to wait for them, but I'll still make my point. My point is this, that if you look at the initial report that my brother commented on, there's an item that's boss under recoveries. And I was indicating that already Ghanaians pay for this particular under recoveries under a charge known as the Energy Debt Recovery Levy of 48 pesos per litre. So for government again to go to GMPC to pick up to $21.3 million to settle that same under recoveries is something that Parliament should not just look at it just for the sake of just commenting, but investigating this. Because Ghanaians are already being charged for this. So for you to have a situation where Ministry of Finance can go back to GMPC and pick up this, it's something that we should do, and that's one of my applications I'm trying to make. But Mr. Chairman,
we'll go to court.
Mr. Speaker, my second point I need to, which is based on what we are going to talk about now, has to do with the petroleum receipt itself. If you look at the sources of the petroleum funds, there are 7 sources. We have the carried and participating interest from both oil and gas. We have royalties from both oil and gas. We have corporate income tax. We have surface rentals. We have additional oil entitlements. We have petroleum holding funds income. We have other sources, for example, signature bonuses. If you look at the report on page 3, you realize that the breakdown receipts for 2020, they account for only 5 items. Conspicuously missing is the issue of the carried and participating interest from oil and from gas, and the other one, the royalties from gas. And there's a reason for it. Since 2017, Mr. Speaker, not a single cent has been paid into the petroleum holding funds from gas, whether as a result of I'm talking of carried interest or participating interest or royalties. And there's a reason for this. You realize that the gas that we produce, the indigenous gas that we produce, are all consumed locally. And this gas that is consumed locally, what happens is that Ghana Gas processes it and gives it to the power companies. The power companies generate power using that fuel, and they give it to ECG. ECG uses that to then distribute the power, collect the monies, and they are supposed to now pay upstream. Unfortunately, because ECG is not able to collect those monies, they are unable to pay the power generators. The power generators are not able to pay Ghana Gas for the gas they have gotten. And therefore, Ghana Gas is not able to pay GMPC. And because of that, we do not get this money going into the petroleum holding funds. When we indicated about 2 or 3 years ago that the issue of the collapsed PDS agreement had a very telling effect on the economy, people didn't understand what it was. People just thought that it was just a simple procurement process that went bad. It went beyond that. The issue of that money of 190 that we lost was supposed to improve ECG to ensure that in terms of their collections and in terms of their losses, they'll be high. But unfortunately today, ECG is making losses up to about 34%. So if you have a company that is making losses up to 34%, and they are unable to pay Ghana Gas, they are unable to pay MPC, definitely and the petroleum holding funds, we are not going to get this. And that is why I indicate that as a country, we should not allow, and I mean indicate, we should not allow our selfish and brilliant quest for riches affect our national agenda. That is why today, you will go to Bongo, you will go to Adaglo, and you have, maybe there are small children, maybe the future Edward Bowers, maybe the future Sewa Bronis, who would be interested?
Honorable member, please withdraw that name, please. Please, Edward, please withdraw that statement.
Mr. Speaker, I should withdraw the Edward Bauer. Because I mentioned two names. I mentioned the future Edward Bowers, the future Sewa Bronis. So which one should I withdraw?
The latter.
Which one?
Please withdraw.
Okay, so Mr. Speaker, with your direction, you say I should withdraw the letter. So I'll withdraw the Sewa Bronis, and then in place I put Sewa Kutu. I was just taking two Ghanaian names, just like I took Edward Bauer. I didn't mean any malice.
So Honorable, conclude.
Mr. Speaker, the point I was just trying to make was that all these activities, whether it is in one sector or the other, they are interrelated. And most often than not, if we always think that because an incident happened in one sector, it has no telling effect in other sectors. This current occurrence, where we do not have gas money being paid into the petroleum holding funds, is because of an incident that happened in the belong to this. On this note, I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, as many as are in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, 16.
Come again.
We move to 16, item 16. And
16.
Yes.
Well. So the chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to move that the motion listed as item 16 on today's order paper be taken now, and in the process, I lay your committee's report. I present the committee's report. In the process, I submit the committee's report. Mr. Speaker, this is in respect of request for waiver of import duty, import get fund levy, import NHRL, import VAT, exim levy, and special import levy amounting to the Ghana cedi equivalent of 311,383 United States dollars on materials and equipment to be procured under the support agreement between the government of Ghana and Cascade Development Company Limited and the Gold Coast Resource International Limited to develop the Accra race course to include a 5-star hotel, shopping mall, office, and residential buildings. The Speaker, the detailed assessment of the requested waiver is attached, and therefore I take the highlights and request the Hansa Department to take the entire report. In conclusion, the committee, in view of the foregoing, respectfully recommend to the House to adopt this report and approve the requested waiver to advance the objectives for which the project was started by government. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Ranking.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also second the motion. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, let me say that this motion is a straightforward one. Indeed, the amount requested is about $311,000 US for the purposes of being a tax waiver for a company that is operating a Kempinski hotel. Mr. Speaker, the bill is long overdue. Mr. Speaker, you know, and I'm sure everyone attests to the fact that both the chairman of the Finance Committee and his ranking, we are anti-tax exemption. And anything that has to do with tax exemption is something that we are very particular about, and we make sure it doesn't just go away. Mr. Speaker, this is one of the tax exemptions that we can assure you that it passes the line to the extent that we can all support. Mr. Speaker, I will not hesitate to say that I urge members of Parliament to support in approving this tax exemption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honourable members, the motion has been moved. The motion has been seconded. It is for the consideration of the House. Let me invite Honourable Member for Okaikwe Central. Oh, no. I'm asking one, I'm taking one from each side.
Very well, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you are taking one from each side, then I'll make a short statement. Mr. Speaker, this country needs a lot of rooms because we want to be active participants on the international tourism space. And let me commend the committee, especially reading paragraph 4.5 on the reduction of the amount that was being asked from 527,685.79 to 311,383. Because the agreement that was presented to us, Mr. Speaker, paragraph 4.4, did not include certain aspects, certain items that the company was requesting for, which included vehicles for expatriate staff and other furnishing and fixtures. Mr. Speaker, an elaborate schedule of items that the GRA looked at is attached to the report, and I must commend the committee for doing a thorough job and saving this country this sweeping amount. I ask the House to support this request. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member Fadaku.
Honourable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to also speak in favor of this. Mr. Speaker, I commend the committee. But Mr. Speaker, one of the things we are supposed to do as a House is oversight. I am not aware that any committee, after we give these tax waivers, have gone further to check whether the items that we have granted these tax waivers for have been used. Mr. Speaker, in the last parliament, we saw in this House, where out of rural electrification, an item on that bill was a stone crusher, which they used at a quarry. $600,000 was part of the things that that particular agency was looking for tax waivers from. I'm not talking about drilling machine. 600,000 of a machine that is used for quarry. So I'm encouraging colleagues, whilst the Ministry of Finance attach the things that you read, many of them are technical, let's find time at random sometime to go and check whether the things we are granting the tax waivers for are actually things that are procured in the name of the country. Otherwise, we may be here happy that, oh, we've granted tax waivers, and somebody will be just basically taking money that the government should be getting from for development. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Honourable Member, your intervention is well placed. Honourable members, as many as are in support of the motion say aye. Those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted.
That resolution 17.
Well. Page 5, item number 17, resolution.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that item listed as number 17, the resolution on the order paper be adopted. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Well. Honourable members, the resolution is moved and is seconded. As many as are in favor of the resolution say aye. Those against say no. Honourable members, the resolution is hereby adopted. Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, nothing now remains save that we are in your hands. Mr. Speaker, whilst at it, let me, on behalf of my colleagues, congratulate our big sister, Honorable Doyo. I'm told today is a special day. It is her special day, and we congratulate her. She is loved by all of us. She is affable, and we pray that the good Lord grants her many more years to serve her constituents and Mother Ghana. Honorable, congratulations. Is there any communication after this labor? Mr. Speaker, have you anything to communication soon after this labor in respect of your big day? Mr. Speaker, I have received from her in silence a good communication soon hereafter, and each member is invited. Mr. Speaker, it is a pleasure.
Well, let me come to you, Deputy Leader.
Leader, we want to thank you for holding the fort. You started this morning, and it's getting to 3 p.m., so we're in your hands. Thank you very much.
Well,
and
honorable members.
Mr. Speaker, before you put a question, before you dismiss us or adjourn the House, I want to add to my colleagues' message of congratulations to our dear sister who is celebrating her 54th birthday today. She's 54 years old today. So those of you who think that she's still a young girl, know that she's not that young. So happy birthday.
Well, honorable members, let me also join in congratulating our sister for the feat of 54. 5 or 6 4? 5-4. She's rejuvenating. She's rather growing young, eh? Anyway, God bless you. Honorable members, it's past 2, and therefore there's no going to be any motion. The House is therefore adjourned to tomorrow, the 4th of November, 2021 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. The House stands adjourned.